frosty nights have hopefully gone. Nice forecast for the next couple of weeks. Time to plant the Brassicas. These have been here far too long and then well and truly hardened off. Starting to go a bit funny colour. I think they're hungry, but as soon as we get them out into the beds, the better. So I've got them all out ready. Give them a little drink just to freshen them up. Just have a look what we got. On the end there we got number 12, which is the Calabrese Iron Man. Next row we got 14 there. That one there is called Dutchman, that's cabbage. Number 16 there, we got cabbage. That's the dog, the greyhound. And down on the front here, number 10. That one there is the Brussels sprouts, that's called Crispus. Split tray here, we've got some 13 and 10. 13 is the cauliflower called Sapporo, and 10 again, we just heard that one, that's the Brussels sprouts Crispus. And right on the end here, we've got number 11, and that there's a cauliflower called Clapton. So they do look a bit miscoloured, some of them do, but they'll pick up. Cold weather can make them change leaf colour, but I think the majority of this case is hungry because they have been in here a really long time. Anyway, we'll spin them round now, and these are the beds that they can go in. Right along the back there, I'll be planting one row of Brussels sprouts. That's because they'll be in there probably the longest and also grow the tallest. This bulb planter is really a good tool. It goes down nice and deep, produces a good round conical hole, and it allows the plant to be planted deep. So that's all the holes in, done for the Brussels sprouts. Normally I only put 4 per bed in, but this occasion I've put 5 in, because the Brussels sprouts will actually be in hopefully till Christmas. Right, we're ready to start planting out. Like with all Brassicas, you can plant these really deep, up to the first leaf joint. It won't hurt them, does them good actually. Because our site is susceptible to a thing called clubroot, which is common in Brassicas, I get some garden lime, I dust the hole fairly generously, and then I also do the plant as well. In history, you could use chemicals. I used to use a thing called Militox, but that's not available anymore. However, this seems to work just as good. Pop it down into the hole right deep, as you can see. As I mentioned earlier, with all Brassicas, give them a real good firming around the base. So with all the sprouts planted out now, what I'll do, I'll give them a watering in. I'll put a handful of lime into the watering can, so it's a weak solution, and I just find that helps bed them in as well. The ball planter really does come into its own once you've got the first lot of line spaces done. In the centre I've done 4 lots of 4, then we're going to be the mixture of the cabbage, cauliflower and calabrese. And right along the end here, the front row I've done 5. I'm going to be using that for kohlrabi and celeriac. So that's the Brassica cage all done now. Just about, I think there's about 10 more plants I need to put in, but they're not ready yet. Spent the last hour watering with the hose pipe, and can you believe it, as soon as I'd finished it started raining. I may have shown you before, but this is the Brassica cage, and the uprights are just these line or lamp pins as they call them, with a hook on. And the bar going across is 20mm steel conduit, the stuff that cables, electrical cables go through, and that makes a nice horizontal runner for the length of the bed. And the stuff going across the supports, these are just upturned plastic rain guttering, and I've just put a hole in just to hook on the line pins, and there's 4 of them along the bed. I'm over at the carrot tanks now. I've still got 3 to sow. These 3 here was done probably about 4 weeks, maybe a bit longer ago, and now they're at a stage where they require thinning out. Now when thinning the carrots out, with same as parsnips, I like to chop off the surplus with the scissors just below soil level, rather than pull the actual carrots out, because there's a slight risk you could damage the root of the one you want to keep. And for that I've got these very small scissors, and they work ideal. Once you've got the surplus, I like to collect these up, put them into some container or something, and get them away from the actual carrot tank, because disturbing them does give off a scent which the carrot fly can detect. So as soon as you can get these away, the better. I've got some little spaces in here where the fox decided to do his tap dance, but any carrots where I can thin out, I'll try and get the roots off any decent size and try a transplant. I'll just pop you in the Vegepod, have a look. As you can see, the stuff's coming along nicely. I did have a little bit of a shock horror the one morning. These lettuce. These are the oak leaf Navara. I did say they'd come in and noticed there was a couple of leaves chomped out, and I found 2 slugs, which was rather surprising. Then I found the reason why. So I think it's a little bit of a design issue with the Vegepod. I just pop that down there. That's the lid fully closed, but if you look here, there's a gap along the bottom of the frame, and that's because I can press the lid up. The problem is here, where this here is the seating face, and the frame actually sits into this cradle. As you can see, the bottom of the cradle is quite a way up above this frame here. A better design, I think, would have been to recess all these stations where you could possibly put the clips, sink it down lower to make it flush. So one option you could do, which is like a get around, is to just put something like draft excluder or something there to seal the gap, but allow the lid to compress on it and block all the entry points. Modification I might do, I think somewhere I've got some of the self-adhesive copper tape, and I might wrap that around each of the legs. Again, that should help prevent the snails and slugs crawling up. We have got some high winds coming in, so I've just popped a little bungee cord on the top of the Vegepod, just tucked it under the frame there. It was over the top, across the ridge, back down to the side, and that should keep the lid secure. I have heard a couple of instances where strong winds have actually taken the lids off. I was speaking to Steve recently from the Seaside Allotment, and we was having a chat about the way we support our cameras, because he was saying it was taking quite a long time to keep setting up each shot. Well, until you've done filming with the tripod and the allotment, you realise how much time it does take. After the first year I gave up using the tripod, mainly because it was the time was taking, but also I got a couple of expensive tripods I use for my photography, and I wouldn't say it wrecked them, but it did cause a little bit of damage where you got grit inside the telescopic extendable legs, and so I decided not to use them. And instead I come up with this thing where I use these metal poles, and they are very, very quick to set up. I can leave them out, so there's no problem. If I'm using stuff clamping around metal poles or low or something, I'll use this thing. This is called the GorillaPod, and the legs are extendable, not extendable, bendable, and you can wrap this around anything you like. But my main method of supporting the camera is the metal poles. So I have 4 metal poles, just varying length, that's all. And on the end of each pole I've welded a belt. It's a 1/4 by 20 threads per inch UNC thread, although you probably get away with Whitworth. It's just a slightly different thread angle. And on there you can see there's a nut been welded below it, and that's to stop the ball and socket head from screwing any farther down, and that there stops the ball and socket head in position. It's just a matter of putting the camera onto the pole and just placing it into the soil wherever you want it. Really good for tight spaces. Forgot to mention there's a spike on the bottom as well, which makes it even easier to go into the soil. And on the end of each one I've sprayed with the yellow checker pattern, and it makes it a lot easier for me to see them. So that's it for this one. The wind's picked up all of a sudden. Just thought it was going to be a nice day today. I got plans for planting out the tomatoes and start putting out the onions, but not while it's like this. I'll give it a rest and maybe try again tomorrow. So until next time, many thanks for watching. See you later, and bye for now.